Now on Grid Tonight, IndyCar unveiled its new charter system. How does this change the landscape and value of the series moving forward? We have a trade to announce. Spire Motorsports have traded Corey LaJoie to Ware Racing for Justin Haley. How will both drivers benefit from this late season driver swap? The president of the FIA is doing a crackdown on drivers swearing. Should the FIA be focused on more important issues? Hello to all of our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert, and with me are Joshua Birch. And a big welcome back to Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index. Hopefully I've done a okay job filling in for you with that the last couple of weeks. Actually, it was Jackson Lambros last week, but we tried our best to manage. But I'm glad the master of the Grid API is back, because nobody knows this better than you, Matt. And we definitely encourage everyone to comment in the chat, ask questions, and support us through Super Chat. Now, Josh, take it away with our top story this evening. Been a really busy news week.
It really has. Thank you, Kobe. Welcome back, Matt, as well. Sorry, everyone, we're a bit late. That's my fault. My first stream setup decided to not work, so I've had to run to the commentary box. But after we've heard rumblings around this being a possibility now for several months, the NTT IndyCar Series has officially unveiled its charter system. Now, similar to what we've gotten used to in the NASCAR Cup Series as well, there are a total of 25 charters, which were handed out to 10 different teams. Now, under the new charter system, IndyCar teams will only be allowed a maximum of 3 charters, which explains why a team like Chip Ganassi Racing downsized from 5 full-time teams to 3. Now, looking at the teams who've received charters, Team Penske have 3, Andretti Global also with 3, Aaron McLaren 3, Chip Ganassi Racing 3, Ray Hall Lenneman Lanigan Racing 3, AJ Foyt Racing 2, Dale Coyne Racing 2, Ed Carpenter Racing 2, Junkos Hollander Racing 2, and Marchand Racing 2. Those 10 teams are guaranteed to start every IndyCar race outside of the Indianapolis 500, which will continue the tradition of bump day with no guaranteed entries. Now, for races outside of Indy, the maximum number of entries will be 27 cars. If we have 28 or more cars show up, at least one driver in an open car will DNQ. Now, Prema Racing, who already announced that they are fielding 2 full-time entries in 2025, were not awarded any charters, so they'll have to begin their IndyCar journey with 2 open cars, not guaranteed a spot in the show every week. Now, the initial IndyCar charter deal will last throughout the 2031 season. The photo taken by Joe Sapinski from Penske Entertainment. Matt's with me once again. Welcome back to the show, Matt. We've missed you so much. Now, what are your initial general thoughts on IndyCar's new charter system, and how excited are you that IndyCar met in the middle to keep bump day alive without guaranteeing spots in the Indy 500?
Yes, thank you. Glad to be back. It's been a week or so, and just like the rest of my life, everything comes on a delay. So thank you, COVID-19, for catching up to me 5 years after the fact over the last couple of weeks. But I am on the mend, which is good. IndyCar charters, pointless? Discuss. I don't think... It wasn't like we were going somewhere like Barber or, I don't know, Milwaukee, and we were getting 20 cars turn up for those races. These guys were turning up every week anyway. The best part of this is that the bump day and Indy 500 thing continues, because that was what a lot of people were worried about. And of course, that was the big part of the original IndyCar split back in the 90s, was all of that mess, which has been trawled over numerous times. So we won't go into too much detail on that here, but that's the best part of this, is that Indianapolis qualifying, which has been probably the highlight of the IndyCar season for the last couple or 3 years really, will hopefully remain unaffected by all of this stuff. So that's the most positive thing for me. The disappointment for me is that Prema portion that you mentioned, Josh, that you can have new teams wanting to come in, and in Prema's case, field 2 cars, and perhaps one of them being run by a former Formula 1 driver next year. if the stories are to be believed, and they won't be guaranteed in the field. But well, why not? The pit lanes are big enough. There's plenty of garage space. The teams are already set up in the paddock. Why can't they just stick them on the grid? I don't quite understand what the big deal is over this capping of the IndyCar season grids outside of the 500, which obviously is bigger anyway. So I'm a little bit, I don't know really on this. But the most, as I say, the most positive thing is that the 500 remains unchanged. And to the casual IndyCar fan, who cares really outside of the 500? This just doesn't. I just don't understand why it's a thing and why it's been brought in now.
Dollar, always. That's
Absolutely.
What Roger Penske. Yeah. Welcome back, Matt. Good to see you well in the UK as well. Well, I don't know about you, Matt, but I just had to take my headphones off because I could hear rain hitting the top of the commentary box. I don't know if you're getting rain. We're very truly into autumn.
It's not raining here at the moment, but watching / commentating on the Indy 6 hour on Sunday, I kept having to pull an earpiece out to see if it was still raining.
Yeah.
It was absolutely hammering down here on Sunday. And it's taking me an hour to get home from work every day instead of 20 minutes because all the roads are all screwed up.
Oh, not good. Not good. And I'm coming back from an illness with COVID as well. That is not nice.
Oh,
See, subscribe below. Get Matt a helicopter to get back home from work as well. We need a helicopter.
Yes, please.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
The grid chopper.
Oh, maybe not in the rain, but there we go. Maybe in a jet car. Now, in the press release, IndyCar did include some quotes from the IndyCar team owners as well. This is what they had to say, beginning with AJ Foyt as well. Now, I appreciate the efforts made by the IndyCar and Penske leadership groups, as well as all the owners, to get this charter system started. It is incredibly challenging to get a large group of owners to agree on something, and certainly there was some give and take, but in the end, I believe this is a path that is beneficial for all the owners and for IndyCar, while also maintaining the availability for open competition. Now, Chip Ganassi said, when you look back in the modern era of IndyCar racing, you will look at a few important moments. The first being the unification of the sport, the next being Roger Penske buying the IndyCar Series and IMS, and I truly believe the third will be the charter system. Ed Carpenter as well said, we are very pleased to begin this new era. The process has been thorough, but in the end, very exciting. This charter system will clearly strengthen our teams as we continue to grow the sport. I would like to thank Roger and his entire team at IndyCar. ECR will have announcements soon, and boy, were they. And I don't know that they would be possible without the help of a program like this. With this groundbreaking development, the new TV deal with Fox, and the momentum that has been building, IndyCar's future is very bright. And Michael Shank from Meyer Shank Racing said, the charter agreement to me is the single most important piece for the future of the series. I'm grateful that we all came together on this, and thank the Roger Penske Group for working with the team owners for getting it done. I don't know about you, but it sounded like in that one, they were all made to say something nice. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been allowed to leave the meeting room. It all was very copy and paste there. But despite a lot of criticism from people about IndyCar implementing a charter system, there's some optimism in the industry that Roger Penske's experience owning charters in NASCAR will help him with this process in IndyCar. Now, IndyCar believes that the new charter system will generate immediate value for the team owners and their entries. Now, with the value growing over time as the sport continues its upward trajectory, it will also offer access to the Leaders Circle, which will continue to see the top 22 teams get the end-of-season bonus, with 3 chartered teams missing out each year. Now, IndyCar decided to hand out the 25 charters based on full-time entries over the last 2 seasons. Teams have the right to sell their charters if they wish, as the sale price and agreement will be independently established by the chartered team. However, IndyCar will have to approve the sale first. So, Matt, what's your reaction to everything said by the team owners? And what do you think about fielding open entries? Is it worth the risk?
Well, I have to agree with you that that all was a bit PR speak, wasn't it? All of that. I did hear also that there was a couple of teams that did not want to sign this, and once one of them in a domino effect, was pushed into signing it. The other one went, "Oh, we're the only ones left. We better click our pen up." I know. Amazing, isn't it? A bit like the NASCAR charter dealings that have been going on over the last month or so. I don't know. It is risky now if you're an open car, unless you know you're going to be, guaranteeing yourself through qualifying and getting yourself in the fast 12. What's the point?
I mean, Prema especially just coming in for a year.
Yeah, and they're, unless they get absolute two superstars with massive experience to jump in their car in this first season next year, they might not qualify for the first 4 or 5 races as they're getting used to the track and the car and the tech specs and all of all the things what happen when new teams come into a new series. They're not guaranteed a spot in the races now, and we should be, and we did on this show when it was announced. Wow, Prema, IndyCar, this is brilliant news. Now we might not see them potentially for the odd race here or there, or one car, or maybe both. If you have a crash in qualifying, you're done. Weekend's done for an open team. You're not guaranteed to get in. So, or an engine failure or something, which we've seen plenty of technical dramas in IndyCar over the last couple of years with this absolutely long in the tooth DW12. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like, again, it's more of the closed shopping going on. Of this is our sport, this is our ball, and we're going to take it where we want to take it. And if you want to play, you're going to have to give us some money.
Now, the Premas should still hopefully qualify, because Kobe's said if we count the 25 entries plus the 2 Premas, that'll be the 27, unless we get 28. But often we do see teams fielding the likes of Chip Ganassi, the likes of AJ Foyt, Dale Cormier. They often do have that 3rd entry that they can get the charter for. The system should stop that, which is good, but there's nothing stopping them having an open car. So it's going to be quite entertaining to see what's going to happen. The only good thing is that teams can still rock up to the 500, and they can bring 4 cars. They can bring 5. They can bring and they can qualify them. That's good that it hasn't touched the 500 like we were all worried it would. But it's still going to, I think, play a risk at some of the more popular circuits on the IndyCar road course
Long Beach
as well. Long Beach, yeah,
where people would want to, if they've got a chassis, then they would want to come and have a run if they've got someone that's bringing money. A driver or whatever.
Logan Sargent, for instance. Perhaps. So it doesn't guarantee anybody a spot outside of the list that you mentioned at the top, which is a little bit worrying for me. Yeah, it's never a good thing when we start capping entries as well. It's a bit like I said in Formula One right now as well. We've got 20 drivers and it's capped. And then you bring the hybrid technology into it and everyone sort of goes away. We've seen it a lot in the British Touring Car Championship recently as well, where we had 32 car, sometimes 33 maximum capacity. This year, only 20 cars on the grid as well. And not many teams out there walking up and down the pit lane. It takes half the time now as well. So it's always a worry, but we'll keep across of it. This is the news that is broken from IndyCar as well, and I'm sure there'll be more coming in the next few weeks and months as we prepare for the 2025 season. Scary to even say that. Now, into our next story for the evening as well. Spire Motorsports and Ware Racing have agreed to trade drivers to get a head start on their plans for the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season. Ware Racing is sending Justin Haley to Spire Motorsports for Corey LaJoie. It's a homecoming for Haley, who initially got into the Cup Series with Spire back in 2019, the same year he won the rain-shortened Daytona Summer Race, earning the organization's first victory in the Premier Series. Haley agreed to a multi-year contract with Spire to drive the number 7 Chevrolet starting this weekend at Kansas Speedway and into the 2025 season. He'll be paired up with crew chief Rodney Childress. Now, next year, Spire will have Haley in the number 7, Michael McDowell in number 71, and Carson Hocevar returns to the number 77. Now, this driver swap includes Haley and LaJoie move may come as a surprise to some because Haley was overachieving with RWR and seemed to be putting himself in line for a future seat at RFK Racing. However, There have been rumours in the media suggesting that RFK may start up a third team next year, but with a different driver, and there's no telling how much longer Brad Keselowski will continue driving. Speaking of Keselowski, he talked to the media about Haley going to Spire last weekend at Bristol. Keselowski made an interesting comment saying he couldn't match the deal that Rick Hendrick offered Haley. Now, this comes after spotter Brett Griffin, and they said Brian Griffin there, as much as I've been watching Family Guy recently. Now, this comes after spotter Brett Griffin said that Hendrick Motorsport has more than 4 drivers under contract for the next year in the Cup Series. Now, the Door Bumper Clear podcast recently said that Spire is currently in talks to strengthen its relationship with Hendrick and potentially become a Tier 1 Chevrolet factory team. The graphic courtesy there of Spire Motorsports. Matt's still alongside. Do you think Haley's return to Spire Motorsports is a good move for his career? What are your thoughts on this potentially being a Hendrick-based deal?
Well, he's been very impressive this year in what we would perhaps say is slightly less, well, not inferior, but you know what I mean. It's not top tier equipment at Rick Ware, and certainly hasn't been over the last couple of years. But they've stood up this year with Justin in the seat. He did very well over the last couple of years in the Xfinity Series at Colleague as well, when he had some good equipment. And now he's getting a chance to go again higher at Spire with this swap. So that's interesting. The Hendrick thing is interesting because perhaps this is a to use a Formula One common thing. It's like Mercedes placing George Russell at Williams, or Leclerc at Alfa Romeo Sauber a few years ago when he was obviously under contract with Ferrari. So they've got him in a decent team, and they will now assess what he can do. If there is going to be more of a Hendrick Spire link up going on, then technically, then that's good for probably everybody concerned. To be honest, more data brings more results. So I think it's a really good move for him. Obviously, the other side of the coin with Corey LaJoie is a different matter altogether. But for Justin Haley and his fans, I think they're probably quite pleased with this switcheroo that's going to happen this week.
Yes, now while Haley knows where he's going to be racing in 2025, the same can't be said for the driver on the opposite end of this so-called trade as well. Now, Corey LaJoie will be in Rick Ware Racing's number 51 Ford for the remainder of the 2024 season, but there is no guarantee that he'll be their driver next season. Now, at the moment, RWR views the last 7 races of the year as an audition for next year. So LaJoie will have to show them that he can work within the team. Now, LaJoie has made it clear that he wants to remain in the Cup Series instead of going to the Xfinity or Truck Series. So, Matt, given how he didn't live up to the expectations with Spire and all of the on-track incidents he's been involved with this year, is LaJoie's career at a crossroads? And how telling is it that Rick Ware Racing won't commit to him for 2025 just yet?
They obviously want to see what he's like to work with on a day-to-day, don't they? And over a race weekend. We'll have to see how he goes over these next, 6-7 weeks, however many races we've got left, starting at Kansas on Sunday. And see what happens. But his, a couple of years ago, he was sort of touted as a bit of a upper midfield runner that could perhaps pop up here or there and get a result on. He almost got one at Atlanta 2 years ago in the spring, wasn't it, when he got beat by Chase Elliott late on in the race. He brings plenty of sponsorship, so that is on his side, and perhaps that is one of the things that has been keeping him in his seat at Spire for the last little while. But this year he's just not run as well as that team we know can, and he's been beaten quite comprehensively at times by Carson Hocevar's teammate. He's a much less experienced teammate, so it's interesting. We'll have to just wait and see. Of course, he wants to stay in the Cup Series. Everybody does if they can. Maybe there's someone else kicking around with more cash trucks to back up to the back of the Rick Ware Racing team next year, and perhaps kick Corey LaJoie out. So it's not too early, I would say. I think he's had his time. If this is the end of Corey LaJoie, and we'll be talking about if this is the end of some other people in motorsport, perhaps later on when we get to Hots and Knots. If this is the end of Corey LaJoie in the Cup Series, you look at it and go, yeah, didn't quite have enough to get to the next level and run competitively top 10 week in, week out and pick up some wins, whether that was down to him or whether that was down to the equipment he had. But he's got a chance over these next this next month or so to make his case, let's say, for a continued run next year.
Absolutely. And the NASCAR Cup Series begins its round of 12 this weekend at Kansas as well. I can't wait. It's going to be a very, very exciting race. So, after an exclusive interview with motorsport.com, FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem has received backlash for comments he made about a new crackdown on Formula One drivers using swear words. Now, the FIA asked Formula One management to limit the amount of swear words shown on television and over the radio. Sulayem said that the drivers have a responsibility to monitor what they're saying, adding that they have to distinguish motorsport from rap music, where you hear the F word multiple times throughout songs. Now, this comment really upset Lewis Hamilton, who accused Sulayem of stereotyping rappers in a racial way. However, Sulayem believes that drivers need to take children who are watching them on TV into consideration and think about how it looks for them to hear those swear words. Seemingly in response to Sulayem's interview, Max Verstappen was very cheeky in his news conference last Sunday and dropped an F-bomb. As a result, Verstappen was punished with a day of community service. Now, the three-time Formula One world champion is in disagreement with the crackdown on swear words, saying that it's normal for athletes in sport to say bad things when they're full of adrenaline, and stuff like this makes him think about how much longer he wants to stay in Formula One. Now, as a result of this as well, Max Verstappen, after swearing in the Thursday drivers' press conference, refused to say anything on the Saturday and Sunday press conferences because he might have been punished further. So he agreed to let the media talk to him outside of the press conference room, stating nothing to the official FIA broadcast at the press conference. Now, we know NASCAR has its weekly radioactive segment from each race, and drivers use swear words on the radio every single week, but they have bleeped out. People love this popular segment. Yuki Tsunoda, who's well known for his use of swear words throughout his outbursts over the radio, said he doesn't know why this is even an issue because it's a part of daily life. And he's sure people at the FIA swear too, just like them. On the other hand, Charles Leclerc believes that the FIA has more important things to focus on than swearing. The drivers are expected to have a meeting to discuss what the FIA is doing on this particular issue. The link to the drivers' reactions in the video description below is from grandprix.com. The photo taken by Mark Thompson is from Getty Images. What a load of rubbish is what I can think James Hunt would say. We've heard a lot more over this. So, Kobe, you're back with us on this bit. To start with you, what's your take on this swearing controversy?
I'd like to start off by giving a round of applause for Mr. Charles Leclerc here. Like, out of all the things that the FIA could be focused on, like, why are we focusing on this? Like, swearing of all things. I think most people have said swear words in their life, but I do think that there is obviously a time and place to use these swear words. Just like at the press conference there, Max was obviously, trying to give a reaction to this interview that obviously was circulating around the paddock about what Mohammed Ben Sulayem had said. So Max did that intentionally, just because he could, and that's probably not the best. I understand why Max did it, but cussing during a news conference like that with the media, that's probably not the best way to go about things. Yeah, I've seen a lot of those news conferences in Formula One. I've seen the press pass stuff with the NASCAR drivers. Also seen IndyCar drivers do their news conferences as well, and I don't hear them, using swear words, especially, dropping F-bombs like that. So that's probably not something that you want to do in that setting. But in regards, to on the radio like that, that's kind of ridiculous in my opinion. So why are we trying to put these drivers on a box and tell a professional athlete, that you cannot swear in this instance? I think Max is absolutely right when he says, that when athletes in professional sports or you don't even have to be in professional sport. You can be an amateur sport. You could be high school sports. You know, you can be in collegiate sports as well. When you're in your match, in your race or whatever, you're going to be locked in, and you know, sometimes you're just gonna say things. So I think it's very hard to try to tell an athlete, you know, that you're not allowed to cuss over the radio. You're not allowed to use this word and that word. And like you were saying, Josh, with the radioactive segment, yeah, every single week you're going to hear a curse word, but it's bleeped out. And I think that's the best way to go about it. You know, just bleeping them out, and, you know, just let the people guess what they said. Is usually very easy. You can use the context clues to figure out what swear word they said. But I really don't think it's a good idea to be putting drivers in the box like this. I really want the drivers to be able to be themselves. And you hear time and time again from people that complain, and they're like, why are these drivers so vanilla? Why don't they have personality? Well, if you put in rules like this, you know, banning drivers from using swear words over the radio and whatever during the race, during practice, during qualifying, whatever, you're basically trying to create more vanilla drivers, which is exactly what most people say they do. They do not want to see. They want to see drivers be able to show their personalities, and if you put them in a box, you know, you're not going to be able to see their personalities, which, you know, be quite a shame for the sport, because I think Formula One has a lot of great personalities on the grid, and it would be a shame if, you know, some of those drivers have to try to rein it in. I mean, I don't think it's appropriate, you know, to be swearing like every other sentence or anything like that. I think that would be a problem. But if it's just like something here or there on the radio or whatever, I don't think that should be an issue at all. And if you're like dropping an F-bomb during like a news conference or anything like that, you should not be doing anything like that. But I do think there's a time and a place. But I do agree with Charles Leclerc's statement that the FIA should probably be focusing on more important things, and also Yuki Tsunoda as well, for basically saying that the people at the FIA are kind of being hypocrites there, you know, saying you shouldn't curse, and they're probably the ones who are cursing behind the scenes at the races. And Lewis Hamilton as well also brings up an excellent point about how he tried to compare it to rappers, and I understand why Lewis was very frustrated there because of how Sullivan's comments come across. And our own Jackson Lambert says, to be honest, during the presser, you know, that should probably be punished, but swearing on the radio and off air should not be punished for the reason you said, Josh. So I think me and Jackson are in agreement there. What do you think, Matt?
Got plenty to say on this. I agree with Jackson. It should have been punished, because when was the last time it happened from Max or from anybody just to slip one in there? But he did it because of the story, the MBS interview. You go back to pre-MBS, when John Todd was the FIA chief, even when Max Mosley was the FIA chief. We did not hear from them. Okay, we heard from Max. There was Max stuff. But Jean Todt we did not hear from in a motorsport context. He was there for road safety. He wanted his Nobel Peace Prize. Didn't quite happen for him. MBS comes in, and as we've talked about over the last 12, 18 months, every couple of months there has to be a story about this guy and him getting the spoon and doing this. Absolutely unnecessary. Swearing in Formula One, not a new thing. Josh, you mentioned our good friend James Hunt used to do it live on air on BBC One on a Sunday afternoon. when Monaco, Alio comments, etc. You will have to remember that when FOM started broadcasting radio during the races, late 2000s, early teens. Just says, don't show these guys anything on Curtin Car Bush. Absolutely right. When they started broadcasting the radio, teams cottoned onto this and said to the drivers, make sure you swear, because then it won't get broadcasted. It's an obvious answer, isn't it? They don't want strategy being put out over their airwaves. So stick an S here and an F there and a whatever there, and it won't get put out. The radio is not live. It is on a delay. They will beep it, and it has been beeped. And when it comes up with the radio message box, the words are starred out. So what are we seeing or hearing that we've not seen or heard before? To do it in the press conference is different. That is live. And obviously Max had heard this or read the story or whatever on the Thursday. I thought he'd have a little dig by throwing one in there and seeing what happened. and he's been punished for it. But then to go back to, and we haven't had it much over the last couple of years when Red Bull have been dominant, but it started to come back in this year, and it kind of started at Austria when he had the run-in with Lando. Petulant Max returns yet again. He is the world champion. This is not world champion behavior, saying no comment, I don't want to talk to you because I'll get taken out of context, etc., etc. Just don't swear. It's not difficult to not swear. You stand in front of TV cameras and TV reporters and the media most of the day. It really isn't difficult to do it. And Max can go on his stream and, you know, get run over by idiots on iRacing and unload on them. Just do it there, because that's, you know, something completely different. This is, you know, more Red Bull implosion, and it's been happening all year, and we've talked about it a lot. He is unhinged, and he cannot be contained at this moment in time with the things that he's saying and the things that he's doing. And that goes from the top. And with, you know, the whole Christian Horner thing that started in March, we've barely heard from Christian on the TV, haven't we? All season, he's not been brought up. He's not been on the pit wall for Sky. He's not been interviewed after the races. I don't think he's barely been in the team principals press conferences either, for whatever reason. The Red Bull implosion continues. They've lost another high-ranking guy today. He's going to McLaren for next season. Max, please, just stop being a 4-year-old kid. I've got two under 5. I know what they're like, and he is turning into one on a week-to-week basis, and it is absolutely boring. The pressure is ramping on Red Bull because, oh, that wind tunnel time that they've lost, it won't affect them. It's affecting them. They are absolutely being blown away by McLaren. What was it Lando was told at the weekend? Just extend the gap to about 10, 12 seconds. That turned into 25 plus in that first stint because he just carried on, and Max had no answer for him. And then he just comes out after the race and whatever, I'm not talking to you, etc., etc. It's more Red Bull boringness. And honestly, Max, if you want to go, don't let the door hit you on the way out, because I'm sick to death of hearing you excuses about every single thing, the car, things that happen on the racetrack, this. Just go and do your iRacing thing and be done with it, because you're not World Championship caliber material in my eyes.
I don't know where to go from that, to be fair. Maybe.
Matt, maybe you should do it. Maybe you should have a mic so you do the mic drop.
I've got something better.
I'll drop my phone, but I don't want to drop it on the floor.
Do you want to go on a rant? Go on a rant. Say that again, by the way, about Max Verstappen. Go on.
I don't think this would have happened for Damon Hill. I don't think this would have happened for Alain Prost. I don't think this would have happened to Jim Clark. Senna perhaps had his moments, let's say. All right. Lewis, Jensen, wouldn't happen to him. It's just petulant, and I'm just sick and tired of that.
Gotta be careful. We're censored by the FIA. Anything else?
Well, the FIA can stick. You were supposed to press the button there. Thank you. I'm just so done. I'm quite thankful actually that we've now got 3.5 weeks off until COTA, because we could perhaps focus and talk about something else other than people poking the bear. And I've been poked, obviously, on this one.
Oh, it's such a giant. Honestly, I need this bleep. John, we're going to do this. I'm going to do this.
Jackson, if I had a high-powered computer and more time on my hands, trust me, I've got a wheel. I just don't have time.
I'm the same. If you want to know what that is, by the way, just type in "censor bleep" on Google, and you get a bleeper. And I'll just
Adam, I don't want that either. Honestly, he said he won't do it. He said he won't go to WEC. He said this in the summer because of the BOP, because he wants to win all the time and have the best car. Well, that's not how sports car racing works.
That's not how life works.
It's not how Red Bull works.
Of course, unless this year you're driving a Porsche in either WEC or IMSA, because they're tearing it up. Ben says soon to be a full-time world champion, the third most wins ever isn't world champion material. No, it's a different.
The talent is.
It's a different. Talented, yes, absolutely, no question. But just grow up, man.
It's the attitude I can't stand. It's the same as It's the same as what
It's
Lewis
the holier
was.
than now. It's the holier than now Red Bullness. It got to Sebastian Vettel at times.
Yeah.
But when he went to Ferrari, the air was cleared. And he was brilliant at Aston Martin, of course, towards the end.
He was. And to be fair, if you want to talk about world champions who aren't world champion material, just look at MotoGP at the moment. I've been saying it throughout the past couple of weeks now. Pecco Bagnaia and Jorge Martin have got the best bikes that I think have ever been in MotoGP. Those Ducatis are technological science, and they are amazing. And they are winning on them because they are the fastest of the Ducati riders, but they're not the fastest on the grid. Marc Marquez is keeping up with them. And I have said it, the amount of times that Bagnaia and Martin are making rookie mistakes crashing and losing out the championship completely, week in, week out. If Martin, I think Marquez is now, 48 back, something like that?
Something like that.
He could win it. He could, in the next 6 races.
I said he would win it at the start of the season. He was my pick to win the championship. He's still in there.
And if you want to talk about Bagnaia's won 2 world championships before, could win a third. He's not world championship material. Neither's Jorge Martin, because they're still crashes. And I know everyone's going to say, "Oh, Marc Marquez crashes." Marc had one big accident where even legends have crashed and damaged themselves. Marc had one big accident, and when he came back, Honda had destroyed the bike, and he would never get it back. So he was overriding the bike, trying to get it back, and now he's on a 2-year-old bike. And trust me, next year, Marc Marquez on a GP25, he's world champion no matter what. Jackson says, when you look at Palou and Newgarden and IndyCar, those are personalities that are polar opposite of Max. Exactly. And Palou...
Scott Dixon, Dario Franchitti, the same.
Yeah. And we were even questioning at some point in the season, is Palou championship material? As he just sort of looked into it by always being consistent. But he is world championship material. We've seen some stellar drives from him. And yeah, totally agree on Max Zacci, by the way, although I will grant him the FIA swearing policy is ridiculous. Yeah, it is. But
I agree on both points on what Max has said there.
I agree too. Max, for me, is more... This is the thing. Max is one of the greatest drivers we've ever had in Formula One. He sometimes can be one of the most loveliest blokes, but other times you just really want to punch him in the face. And Michael Schumacher was the same. I wonder hear anybody say the same. Senna was the same. Prost was the same. Lauda was the same. Every legend you can say in Formula One, you've often wanted to punch him in the face. And this is just, it's ego. They get too big. And even if they just hide it and keep it off air, which Max doesn't even try to do now. And to be fair, I find it funny because if you have drivers who are swearing, you then go in here the cool down room where they swear anyway. And they broadcast it. So it's like, what's the point?
And that's been last couple of races I've noticed. They've either delayed it or have big brothered it, to use a UK term, and just turned the sound off for 5 seconds. I noticed that at Baku, especially a couple of weeks ago, they did that. And you can see them all talking, but we can't hear what they're saying. So again, and here's another point to this. And Josh, I will leave you out of this point that I'm about to make. Who watches the Thursday press conferences? I'm sorry. No, I didn't. as a rule, who watches the Thursday press conferences? Nobody.
I'm gonna have to.
And now it's going to be a thing, and we'll get to COTA in a couple of weeks. Oh, Thursday press conference, Max is in there, and then nothing will happen again.
Yeah, just they probably would be. But I do have to watch it. And a little secret that nobody else knows is the fact is that there's every time you watch it on Sky Sports F1 and it says live, it's not live because it's happened half an hour before, and I already know everything, and I'm already text people and going, "Oh, look at this, look at that," and it's like, nothing's ever truly live apart from the practice and qualify. The other thing, actually, the Sky F1 pre-show, the first 30 minutes isn't live. Just an update for you. It's pre-recorded. And the only bit that when it comes live is when the pit lane opens. So they're only live from when the pit lane goes green. So a little bit of a tip there for you. So everything else is pre-recorded to go into it. That's why you might have seen Ted Kravitz swearing.
Yes.
His pre-recorded link. Yeah.
By accident, didn't they?
Yeah, so it just proves because they're all pre-recorded. I get all
on
their
Friday,
intel.
I think, wasn't it? Because I was watching practice from my sickbed.
Max just responds to every question with everything is great. Yeah, well, he's a Lego character. He's kind of, yeah, he has to, otherwise his dad will leave him at a petrol station again. So it kind of goes on. So, should we go into some less controversial news about all this swearing? Because I think we've sort of wrapped it up nicely as well.
Catch my breath.
Yes, Danica Patrick was spotted on the track in practice 3. It's all fine. We'll get onto that in Hots or Nots. I've got a good one this week.
Go on.
Anyone guess what the knot is this week? Go on. Now, Ed Carpenter Racing has confirmed its driver lineup for the 2025 NTT IndyCar season. Now, after losing his seat with Aaron McLaren, Alexander Rossi is moving over to ECR to drive the number 20 Chevrolet full-time. Then, Christian Rasmussen received a promotion to a full-time race seat within the team, replacing Venus VK in the number 21 Chevrolet. And we'll have more on VK's departure later in our news segment. But Ed Carpenter will return just for next year's Indy 500 in order with a third car instead of running all of the oval races as well. So just one entry on the Indy 500 oval. This comes after ECR announced a new partnership with Indiana-based business owner Ted Gieloff as well, who becomes a co-owner of the team and will bring the Spendler and Java House on board as new sponsors, the graphic courtesy of Ed Carpenter Racing as well. Yeah, so basically, Ed Carpenter announces Ed Carpenter will race in the Ed Carpenter team for the Indy 500. What a surprise. Being the Charters and Danica, it's probably good. I'm not on the air tonight. Yes. Very interesting. You all know, you've already seen the grid chat, you two. Now, Matt, starting with you. Do you like Ed Carpenter Racing's 2025 driver lineup, and how significant is it for the team to add a new business partner who is also bringing in new sponsors?
That's good news, and we always like new people bringing in new sponsors, so that's a positive thing for ECR. Rasmussen at times this year has been very good. We know he's good because he's an Indy Next champion. So now getting him full season with the ovals next year, that'll hopefully prove well for him. Rossi moving across is an interesting one. I've been a bit critical of Rossi over the last couple of years, really. Since he was really in that championship contention phase with Andretti, he's just not really been at the races. He's had the odd result, good result here or there. Laguna Seca this year springs to mind for McLaren. But in all the McLaren sort of IndyCar mess, which we've again talked about at length over the last 18 months, that's another one out the door. And he's found a seat at ECR. Good for the championship that he's still there, because he's obviously got a good fan base, and him and Hinch do the podcast, and that's obviously very popular. So that's good. I don't like that Renus VK is a free agent. I thought he's been a little bit shafted here, perhaps. Been very good at Indianapolis, of course, over the last few years, as our friend Matthew Owens will agree with. In qualifying, especially because this year it didn't go quite so well, but he still managed to scrape through somehow after they repaired the car after the crash. So he'll be a very hot property in the free agent for an Indy 500 ride next year, you can be sure. Back to what we talked about at the top, where we know that there's going to be still plenty of cars to come at the 500. So I think it's all round. I think it's quite positive for ECR. It'll be interesting to see what a second change of clothes in the last couple of years does for Alex Rossi's career progression, I suppose, or career longevity in the IndyCar Series. What do you think, Abby?
Yeah, I want to start off by saying that I'm really excited to see Ed Carpenter Racing partner with this new businessman from Indiana, who's going to be bringing a lot of sponsorship dollars to his organization. And if you read Marshall Pruitt's in-depth article of what the financial situation has been like for Ed Carpenter Racing for the last few years, it was a really good piece. But at Carpenter Racing, it seemed like they've really had a hard time, trying to fund that program. And a lot of times when you naturally have trouble with funding, you're not going to be able to invest in the right places and being able to hire the right people to make sure that your program stays on the top. And we've seen, and looking at Ed Carpenter Racing's past, they really haven't truly been a regular contender since they had Joseph Newgarden with that team. I think Joseph Newgarden, got absolutely everything he could out of those Ed Carpenter Racing Chevrolets. And since he left, the team has kind of, slid well back into the midfield when Newgarden hadn't been in contention quite often. And I think that's the days that Ed Carpenter Racing wants to get back to, when you're in the fight like that, you're battling for wins on a regular basis instead of just one time per year for the most part at the Indianapolis 500. So I think that this is a very good investment. And Josh, you read it earlier during your charter segment, the comments that Ed Carpenter made, basically saying that this charter deal, made this deal possible to bring in this businessman from Indiana. So I guess if you're pro charters in this situation, you could say that it helped out in this instance where Ed Carpenter was able to get this deal done because of the new system that IndyCar puts in place. So for Ed Carpenter Racing, I think that this is excellent news for them. Really excited to see what they can do moving forward, and hopefully they can start to move further up the grid where they used to be during the Newgarden era. So I think that's awesome for that team. And looking at the driver lineup for 2025, I really like it, to be honest with you. Alexander Rossi, looking forward to seeing how he gets along. At the very least, Rossi will be in contention for the pole for the Indy 500 if Ed Carpenter Racing continue to bring fast cars for the month of May. But I guess everyone's biggest concern is what's this going to be like, on the other oval tracks. Indy is really the only track where you really see Ed Carpenter Racing truly show up. Sometimes, especially Renna's VK and behind the wheel, you might see a surprise finish on a road or street course. But the other ovals, Ed Carpenter Racing, they've really struggled at the other ovals outside of India. So there clearly needs a lot of work done there. And Alexander Rossi, he's gonna have quite a task on his hand next year, trying to drag this car up towards the front, because he might have a hard time on the tracks outside of Indy. Yeah, so we'll have to see how he gets along. But at the very least, Alexander Rossi is highly respected when it comes to offering, the feedback on a technical side. So I think that having him as the team leader / mentor to Tristan Rasmussen is going to be very big for the team. And Rossi can help them evaluate the program and try to get them up further on the grid. And I think Tristan Rasmussen has definitely earned this full-time seat. Was really impressed with what he was able to do with his part-time schedule this year. I think, like many young drivers, he was overly aggressive at times. And I remember, seeing him in practice and during the race in the Indy 500 making those bold overtakes. I kept saying to myself, I said, Tristan Rasmussen is going to put it in the wall. I kept saying that if there's one driver in this field who's going to crash, it's going to be Tristan Rasmussen. But actually proved me wrong and had a very good race in the Indianapolis 500. I believe he was actually the highest finishing rookie in that race, which is, very impressive on his part. So I think if Tristan continues to mature, rein in that aggression a little bit and know the time and place when to do that, I think he's going to be all right. You're really excited to see what he can do with the full season under his belt. And also got to give a call to Ed Carpenter. We know when he wanted to get the number 22, the number 20 Chevrolet into the leader's circle, he made the hard call to put Tristan Rasmussen in the seat for the remaining oval races, because as we've seen in recent years, Ed Carpenter's form has really fallen off on the oval tracks in general. And he felt that Tristan Rasmussen gave them the better chance to get in the leader's circle for the 2024 season. And Carpenter was proven right, because Rasmussen was able to get them into the leader's circle. And if Ed Carpenter was behind the wheel, there's no telling whether or not he'd actually get in the leader circle. So so like I've said in the past show, I feel like Ed Carpenter, given how much he's invested in this sport and the fact that he's the team owner, I feel like he should be able to run the Indianapolis 500 for as long as he really wants to. So when he decides that he's done driving at the Indy 500, then that's that. But as far as the other oval races, I think he made the best decision, to put Rasmussen in this car. And I think it's also a really good thing for him that he said that I'm just going to do the Indy 500 only. I'm not going to run the other oval races. I know that's hard for Ed because he loves to race, but I think it's the best possible decision he could have made for this organization moving forward. Yeah, and overall, I'm just excited to see how Rossi and Rasmussen get along in 2025. And got some comments here in the chat. Ben says that Rossi's move is a great one if he wants to win another 500, but you fear that's the only time that he or Ed Carpenter Racing in general will be relevant next season. Yes, Ben. So we share some similar concerns there, and a lot of other people have said the same thing. But I will say that Rossi's probably in a better position being here at Ed Carpenter Racing than, I guess, say Ray Hall. If he was in a Ray Hall car, no disrespect to them, we might be talking about Rossi in the last row shootout, given what we've seen in the last few years from Ray Hall. So at least Rossi should be able to battle for the pole if history serves us well. And Jackson says easily the strongest ECR has looked in years on talent and financial backing. Yeah, things are really looking up for the organization, and we'll see if they can produce results once everything falls into place. And then Adam says that you think Alexander Rossi can steal a win or two next year. So Adam has a hot take there that Alexander Rossi might be able to steal one. But like we were saying, if it's one race for Alexander Rossi, probably the best bet would be the Indianapolis 500, because that's the one day of the year Ed Carpenter Racing truly shows up. But yeah, if he won 2 races, that would definitely surprise a lot of people next year.
Thank you, Kobe. Thank you, Matt. That concludes our main story segment. We've got more news coming from the motorsport world after a delighted, I'm announced, a return for Matt White with the very latest from our Grid EPI update. We have missed this.
No, thank you, Josh. It's been a busy weekend, as it always is in Grid Endurance Performance Index world. We'll start in Japan after a sort of elongated break after their last race in Super GT at Suzuka was cancelled a few weeks ago because of a typhoon. This week they were in the rain still at Sugo, and the winners were Yukio Sasahara and Giuliano Alesi. Yes, son of. Second win of the season for those guys in GT 500. Nao Gamu and Takahiro Shinohara were the winners in GT 300. At Indianapolis on Sunday afternoon, the Battle of the Bricks 6 hours. More on that later in Hots and Knots. What a 1-2 for RLL, and what a week for that organisation. But they got a 1-2 with their BMWs. Jesse Krohn and Philip Eng coming through in the end to win the 6-hour race in GTP. LMP2 was won by Stephen Thomas, Mikkel Jensen and Hunter McElrea. GTD Pro was won by Rexy, Lauren Heinrich and Michael Christensen, getting the victory there for Porsche. And they also won in GTD, did the Porsches, with Jan Halen, Adam Adelson and Elliot Skier. Big surprise result at Monza on Sunday afternoon. This race happening at the same time as Indianapolis. So if you were looking for people in the Indy race and wondering where they were probably at Monza because of these two clashes. And a huge surprise because a car from the Bronze Cup, which is the sort of 4th category in GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup, managed to win the race overall. Jens Klingman, Ahmed Al-Hati and Sam Dehaan, who started last. Pit strategy was brilliant and they managed to bleep their way to the front and win overall and in the Bronze Cup. The Pro car winner was second in the race. Sheldon van der Linde, Charles Weerts and Dries van Voor. Arjun Maini, Josefa Vega and Michele Beretta won in the Gold Cup. And silver was won by Colin Kerasani, Dan Pidge and Tana Safaranrakul. Here is an updated point standings for the Grid EPI, and there has been some changes over the last couple of weeks, and it means that Andre Lotterer is back to P1 on the standings. Dane Cameron and Felipe Nasr had a off day with some dramas at Indianapolis on Sunday. So Dane, who was the leader, slips to 3rd and Nasr slips to 6th. Kevin Estre was in that Monza race for GT World Challenge Europe as a one-off for him at the weekend, but he didn't finish, had a retirement, so he slips away from his WEC teammates Van Voort and Lotterer at the top. Those guys separated by not much, and I reckon they've probably, both of them, only got one more race left, and it's the Bahrain WEC finale in November. So it looks like, unless a big surprise happens, that Andre Lotterer might have one hand on the 2024 Grid Endurance Performance Index trophy, but we'll keep you abreast of that. Charles Weerts' Pro Cup win at Monza bumps him up to 9th. Nick Tandy got a podium for Porsche at Indianapolis, so he is 8th. And Kenta Yamashita, the championship leader in Super GT, there just propping up the bottom of the top 10. Here's the way the rest of the top 50 stand over the last couple of weeks, which has been really busy. And we've got another busy weekend coming up this weekend. The European Le Mans Series is at Mugello for the first time in a very, very long time, instead of going to Monza. So that will be an interesting 4-hour race on Sunday. The DTM and the ADAC GT Masters are at the Red Bull Ring over the weekend for their penultimate weekend of the year. And it is the season finale of British GT at Brands Hatch on Sunday on the Grand Prix loop. So that'll be an interesting one to watch out for because the championship is very, very close going towards the last race. There is the updated top 50, as I said, for week 26 of the Grid Endurance Performance Index update. And we'll update you on those results from the races I mentioned coming up this weekend on the show next week. Now time to hand to Kobe with more of this week's headlines, and there has been legion.
Thanks, Matt. Time for some more motorsports news from around the world. And after signing Felix Rosenqvist to a contract extension, Meyer Shank Racing completed its 2025 driver lineup in the NTT IndyCar Series, with Rosenqvist returning to a number 60 Honda. Marcus Armstrong will be his teammate in the number 66 Honda. Armstrong comes over to Meyer Shank after driving for Chip Ganassi Racing the last couple of years, who recently formed a new technical alliance with Meyer Shank beginning next season, given a new partnership. Armstrong himself confirmed that he's bringing his core group of engineers from the number 11 Ganassi team with him to MSR. Team owner Mike Shank praised Armstrong for the growth and consistency he's shown in IndyCar so far, and promised that the team is going to do everything they can to get him the car and tools to produce results next year. Photo courtesy of Meyer Shank Racing. Harrison Burton lost his ride in the NASCAR Cup Series with Witt Brothers Racing, but landed on his feet for 2025 with the return to the Xfinity Series. Burton will stay in the Ford family and drive for AM Racing. The team will continue its technical alliance next year with the soon-to-be renamed Haas Factory team. They also renewed its agreement to receive Roush Yates engines. And after struggling in 3 full seasons of Cup competition, Burton will get a chance to prove himself again in Xfinity. Burton said he's excited to join AM Racing and believes he can turn it into a race-winning team, graphic courtesy of the team. Ty Norris has departed his role as president of Trackhouse Racing for a new role at Colic Racing. Norris will become Colic's chief business officer, which will see him focus on partnerships and long-term strategy. The team said the addition of Norris is one of several major moves they're making to help the future of its Cup Series program. And speaking about the departure from Trackhouse, Justin Marks said Norris is the best ever at building teams, praising his grind, commitment, and dedication from the role he played in helping Trackhouse establish its culture and standing in the sport. Graphic courtesy of Colic Racing. And first reported by Marshall Pruitt from Racer.com, ex-Formula One driver Logan Sargent will make his NTT IndyCar Series testing debut on November 19th. Sargent is set to get behind the wheel of an IndyCar for the first time with Meyer Shank Racing at the Thermal Club. According to Pruitt, when it became clear that Sargent's future in F1 was in serious doubt, his manager contacted IndyCar teams to see if there were any potential opportunities. Sargent visited the IndyCar season finale at Nashville Superspeedway to meet with several teams in person before agreeing with Meyer Shank to test his car in California right before Thanksgiving. With MSR's 2025 driver lineup of Felix Rosenqvist and Marcus Armstrong set, Sargent won't be in contention for a seat there, but this test definitely gives him a chance to impress other IndyCar teams who may be interested in giving him an opportunity to drive for them based on the results of this test. Photo courtesy of Williams Racing. You already talked about ECR just a while ago, but another story that was first reported by Marshall Pruitt from Racer.com, Rinus VeeKay is now a free agent and looking for a new home in the NTT IndyCar Series. According to Pruitt, Carpenter Race's decision to part ways this late in the game came as a surprise to Rinus VeeKay and his camp. And in a statement posted on his social media pages, VeeKay thanked ECR for the last 5 years, highlighting the successes they've had together along with the challenges, but he's excited about the future and believes the best years of his racing career are ahead of him. However, losing his seat at this point of the silly season will certainly make his job of staying full-time in IndyCar more challenging. As we saw, Callum Ilott found that out hard last season when he lost his ride very late in the silly season, but Ilott bounced back and got a seat at Prima full-time in IndyCar next year. And so I'm sure Rinus VeeKay is hoping for a similar rebound and being able to find the seat and stay full-time in IndyCar. Photo taken by Joe Skabinski from Penske Entertainment. For the second consecutive year, Rackley Ware is making a late-season driver change during the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series playoffs. Last year, the team parted ways with Matt DiBenedetto, and this year, Ty Dillon will step away from the driver's seat, replacing Dillon on the number 25 Chevrolet Silverado, short-track racer Dawson Sutton, who may get a full-time opportunity to race in the Truck Series later on. Despite Dillon losing his ride, he's agreed to stay on with the team as a mentor and driver coach for Sutton. Team co-owner Willie Allen said they're super thankful for Dillon and the job he's done for them this year behind the wheel, praising his willingness to take on additional responsibility of helping Sutton grow and develop as a young driver as he steps out of the driver's seat and focus on his racing plans for 2025. 2 photos you see on the screen, courtesy of Rackley Ware. Yesterday, it was announced that Connor Hall won the 2024 NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series National Championship. Hall becomes a back-to-back Weekly Series National Champion after claiming the same honor in 2023 during his 2024 championship winning season. This is a very impressive stat, so listen very close to this. Hall won 18 races in 26 starts at 5 different tracks, which means he won 69% of all the races that he entered, and in 24 of those starts, he finished inside the top 5 and never finished outside of the top 10. So very strong season for Connor Hall, super dominant, and he was extremely consistent in all of the throughout the season, and especially in all the races that he did not win. So Connor Hall ended up finding victory lane at Langley Speedway, South Boston Speedway, Florence Motor Speedway, Hickory Motor Speedway, and Southern National Motorsports Park. While unrelated to the national championship, Hall also made his Truck Series debut earlier this year at Richmond and got a top 10 finish on debut, graphic courtesy of NASCAR. And last but not least, three-time NTT IndyCar Series champion Alex Palou will compete in the season finale of the Intercontinental GT Challenge at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course. Palou will drive the number 4 Mercedes-AMG GT3 for Lone Star Racing in the Pro Class in the Indianapolis 8-hour. He'll join Mercedes factory drivers Fabian Schiller and Lucas Stoltz in next weekend's endurance race. People may not know this, but Palou does have experience with GT3 cars. In 2019, he raced in Super GT's GT300 class. Palou said he attended the Indianapolis 8-hour endurance race 2 years ago to cheer on his fellow countryman, Spaniard Danny Juncadella, and he knew that he wanted to run this race someday, graphic courtesy of the Intercontinental GT Challenge. And that's the end of tonight's news segment, so I'm going to throw it to Matt for everyone's favorite game, Pick a Winner.
Before we do pick a winner, if Joe is watching, we need to add that NASCAR Weekly Series into the grid ranking, because if Connor Hall can do 69%, he's got a good chance of winning the grid ranking. Pick a Winner is back for the week, and there is the standings. Matt Behow has a 9-point lead at the top over Josh T, who has snuck his way into second place. So the last couple of weeks of me not seeing this leaderboard as it's shaken up a little bit. I'm in 6th position, Kobe is 4th, and Josh is in 12th. 2 races to pick from this weekend. Of course, there is more, which you will be able to get your picks in using hashtag Pick a Winner on social media across the weekend. I imagine the post will be going up from Joe tomorrow. We are about to pick the MotoGP sprint race, because it is, what, 6 race weekends in 7 for MotoGP after their second race at Misano last week. They're in Indonesia this weekend on Lombok at Mandalika. Championships in the balance after what's happened at the weekend. More about that in Hots and Knots in a little while. Sprint race, I think he needs to get back on the horse. I'm not going to take Jorge Martin for a sprint. I'm going to take Pecco Bagnaia.
Interesting pick there, Matt. And going from Misano to Indonesia, that's quite a trip on an airplane for going all the way there from there. But yeah, I'm actually gonna go with Jorge Martin to win the sprint in Indonesia. Who you have, Josh?
Why, God? Why? You promised you wouldn't do this to me again. Not 6 in 7 night races. No. Right. I don't know, actually. It's a bit of a weird one in Indonesia, because sometimes it rains, sometimes it doesn't. And Mark doesn't go well here. Neither does Martin. So, yeah. Toss a coin, I'll go Bagnaia. Why not? It's a 50-50 at the moment with the championship. But, yeah, we had a deal. Let the others grow old, not me.
We've also got WRC back this weekend. They're in Chile after a couple of years away from that rally. It's back on the calendar. And I'm going to take the man that's won the last 2 events there for WRC in Chile and needs to keep himself in the championship fight. That's Oyt Tanak. That's my pick for the weekend. Kobe, who are you going with?
I think I'll go with Newville to take the victory in Rally Chile. And got a comment here from Jackson saying, "Guess I'll see you guys at Thermal in a few weeks if they'll let you in, Jackson." I know a lot of people will be trying to see Logan Sargent test an IndyCar for the first time. But if you're not able to get in, I'm sure we'll be reading all about it from Marshallport and Racer.com. We'll definitely hear some things leak out of that test session and see how
Jackson,
Logan gets along. and Adam, he says he's going with Pecco Bagnaia, and then for Rally Chile he's going with Tonic. And that's the end of our Pick a Winner segment, and I'll toss it over to you, Matt, for this week's Hots and Knots. I think it might be a little spicy this week.
Yes, I think I might have used some of my spice up already in the Verstappen segment. Get your picks in at the weekend. Hashtag Pick a Winner for MotoGP Sprint and, of course, the Grand Prix on Sunday. WRC Chile and NASCAR at Kansas. I believe that is the full slate without looking at up on my phone. Hots and Knots. I've been waiting for this for a couple of weeks for not being on the show. We'll start, obviously, as we always do, with Hots. Josh, what are your Hots from the weekend?
well done to Toka for getting a race restarted that everybody wanted to cancel and it being a fantastic touring car race that has set up the championship brilliantly for Brands Hatch in 2 weeks, which tomorrow I am booking and going down, and I'm going to be traveling for so long, and it's going to be a night race where I have to do MotoGP and then head to Brands Hatch and then have to go back. And basically I'm up from about 4 a.m. until about midnight. I'll be traveling, so it's going to be a long day. But what a race, and it set the championship up brilliantly. And going to Brands Hatch now with Sutton as an outsider, but Hill and Ingram right up there, separated by a couple of points. Oh, it's going to be brilliant. It's guaranteed now to go down to the very last race of the day. And I can't wait. I'm so excited. And I've been buzzing all day. It's been stressing me out, but I've been buzzing for that. Well done, I must admit. Great NASCAR race, I thought, on the Saturday. I was solo, but I had Matthew and Jackson on USRN. I was able to drop in and out of. But thanks to the Earth Cam, we could show the whole thing. So I could just sit down and commentate for a change. You don't have to stand up that much. And I wasn't on camera. So that was a hot for me because it felt like I was actually commentating on the race. And we got a lot of people in and viewing. So that was a lot of fun. And I thought it was a great race. It was really entertaining. And I think the different tyre compounds worked. And it set up an interesting round of 12. Formula One, though, the only good thing that came from that was that Red Bull still are struggling. And I think McLaren, Ferrari and Mercedes are slowly catching back up. Interesting to see that Aston are starting to find their feet a little bit with Alonso. Lance still isn't performing. So I think that car's got potential to be very good when Adrian Newey gets his hands on it for development parts next year. But their big thing's going to be 26 for him. Sauber, nothing for them. I think also there's another one that was hot for me over the weekend. I'm just trying to remember what it was. I wrote it down in the box somewhere on a note, but I seem to have misplaced. And let's see if Megan wrote it down. Coming into it. Franco Colapinto. That's it. Thank you, yes. Megan.
Good.
Franco Colapinto. Yeah, I won't say any more then, but I'll let you take it.
Question on touring cars. Does that mean I'm going to have to... Does that mean my recording stopped before the last race finished? Because if it did, that's probably a problem because the ITVX is absolutely terrible to use.
ITV went off air at 6:30 because of the cutoff. So if the program was going for 6:30, you should be okay.
Okay, yeah, then good. That's good because ITVX is just horrible. My hots from the weekend, Singapore. Yes, both Williamses actually.
Yeah,
I thought they did a really good job at a track where you wouldn't think Williams would go well because it's not like Monza or Spa where we would technically think they would go okay. But Colapinto is just, he's standing up in that. He knew he had not so much time to do stuff because obviously we knew that Albon was signed and they've got Carlos Sainz coming in. He's angling for that seat next to Hulkenberg, I feel like, in the Sauber Audi or whatever it's going to be called next year. He really good job. I thought Lando was just terrific, although he tried to throw it away a couple of times with his little trips towards the tyre barrier from time to time, but he did survive. I thought Oscar Piastri drove a great race. I thought Charles Leclerc did a very good job the weekend. Mercedes still can't seem to find their way. What they were doing with Lewis, his strategy.
Oh, their entire strategy was bizarre.
With his used softs to start the race with, was very odd.
They were banking on that safety car that never appeared
in the early laps. Yeah. Well, when you take 5 corners out of a racetrack, the best part of it, where the tunnel was and the football pitch, that was probably the best bit of Singapore. Well, I thought.
Ruth Boscombe said that 60% of the safety cars happened in that zone of the track that they took out. So take it out, it reduces the risk. So
hello to Nelson Piquet.
Yeah. Hi Nelson.
Other non-Singapore related. Oh, let's do Adams quickly. What's hot? Zane Maloney going to Formula E? Yes, not reported on the show tonight, but yes, Zane Maloney's signed to go to Lola alongside Lucas Di Grassi next year in Formula E, so that's good. Bathurst around the corner. Yes, I've only just finished watching Townsville from the first weekend of July. Marcus Armstrong, hot to MSR, says Jackson, hungry driver and a hungry team. Yes, I thought that's a very good signing. Him and Felix would be very good teammates, I feel like. Away from Singapore hot, Indianapolis on Sunday.
Oh, what a race!
Brilliant. Oh, stunning race. Apart from the hour that we had to sit behind the safety car early because of the rain.
It was bad. That's the worst I've seen it.
They did what, 50 minutes, I think, from the beginning of the race and then we have about that same time behind the safety car. But there was just action aplenty. Me and Matthew Owens did the race on USRN as a Indianapolis treat on Sunday. And every 5 seconds there was a car spearing off, or some people side by side, or there was an accident or pit stop strategy going on, or something like that. And as I mentioned in the EPI update, what a week for RLL. And they finish it with a 1-2 with the BMWs, who are just getting there slowly. They had a second place a couple of weeks ago in Fuji, the WEC race, and now they've got themselves a 1-2 in IMSA. So that was really good. I think that's my hots done. I think I've got, as per normal, I've got more knots than hots.
Well, do you want to go knots now?
Yeah, let's do knots.
First
Can we do Mazzano related knots first?
Yeah, fine. Okay, Mazzano. Do you want to do a backtrack to Mazzano a couple of weeks ago? Because you were on the show. Jorge.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, my backtrack to Mazzano a couple of weeks ago comes from Moto 3, where at the beginning of the Moto 3 race 2 weeks ago, David Munoz caused a first corner incident. At the beginning of the race. He crashed, took 4 or 5 other riders down. He was penalised this week, just gone, with 2 long lap penalties for causing said incident at turn 2 of the first lap. What did he do this week in the Grand Prix? At turn 2 on the first lap, ran into the back of Stefano Nepper and crashed.
I find it funny.
He then was on. He got back on and was riding around at the back, served his 2 long lap penalties, and then crashed again.
I don't know why he's in it.
What are you doing? What are you doing, David? So that was a big knot. Just Mazzano is a knot. I'm bored of Mazzano. I'm
bored.
8 races over the last couple of weeks at Mazzano, if you include the sprints and the other stuff. I've just watched Moto 2. Oh, that was another knot, was the end of the Moto 2 race. How to give someone else the win. Tony Arbolino messes up the 3 corners from home, and then Aaron Canet messes up the last corner, and Vietti came through to steal it on the line. What did you think of the Bastianini-Martin clash at the end of the main race after Bagnaia had fallen off again?
Bagnaia going down is just ridiculous. That was, I think, the biggest surprise. Immediately in my mind, and I think I said it in commentary, how like Rossi and Marquez with the dive bomb. I was saying in commentary, Enea Bastianini, all he's got to do now is really play the team game, help out his teammate, and stop Martin getting as many points as he can to extend that lead in the championship. And he did it. He got it. It's not what, 12-point caps, and he did the job. But I don't know, that dive bomb. If it was any other race, I would say what hard, fair racing to go for a gap that was there. In a world championship situation, I have to say it's a little bit cheeky because there was malice there. He dove up the inside, not to get the win, but to take Martin out of a race-winning potential. Yeah. And then he's gone on to say, "Oh, I did it because it's my home race. I'm on a Ducati. It's literally my home track. I was born in Rimini. All this lot, all the fans here, they're all here. You know, it's in my heart." Rubbish. He took out Martin with the full intention. I've seen that clip now so many times. If he wanted to just take the lead, he would have taken a tighter line on the inside. He didn't even attempt to turn until after Martin was off the track. Way off.
Proper block pass, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was surprised they didn't do a switch of positions or
I was waiting. Yeah. I had to leave to go to Formula One. But yeah. I was expecting the leg.
But yeah, Bagnaia falling off was. Is it going to be like last year, where one week one of them would fall off, and then the next week the other one would do it, which we had for like 4 or 5 weeks in a row at the end of last year, where neither of them wanted to win the championship. It seemed like so. But now we go to the flyaway. That's also a knot, is because of Kazakhstan being cancelled. That's why we ended up with Mazzano too. And now we're going from Misano, Italy, all the way to Indonesia in 5 days for another Grand Prix, which is just what are we doing to these team people and TV guys and all of that
It's
stuff?
tomorrow night. It's effectively tomorrow night. So yeah. I hate it. 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 I hate it.
At least for you, Thailand is out of that area next year, and because it's opening the season, so that's one less race at the end of the year.
One less, but if they, knowing my luck, they'll throw India in it or Kazakhstan, which is in that time zone, so they'll throw something in there.
Sounds like from what we've heard today that India is off for next year.
Well, it's a shame we're not doing the show tomorrow. Yeah, money, because the MotoGP calendar is actually being announced tomorrow. So, so we'll know everything tomorrow about it, about how it all looks.
On the show next week, then.
All we do know is that Thailand's opening it, Portugal is staying, British Grand Prix moves to May, and Valencia ends the season with a postseason test. We know that there are dates in the middle of August for the Red Bull Ring, but there's also another round that hasn't been announced that's supposed to be put there. I think it's Hungary going in now earlier. So
we've got Bruno coming back as well, haven't we, next year?
Bruno is coming back, yeah. I think next year's scheduled to be about 21 to 22 Grand Prix, but don't panic because there's no way in hell Kazakhstan is happening. There's no way in hell that India is happening. There's no way that Hungary is happening. There's no way that we're going to have about 4 races that are going to drop off the calendar, which is really bad. I know it's kind of bad to say, but I really hope the British Grand Prix moves dates or doesn't happen because it's such a bad time of the year. You've got Monaco Grand Prix and Indy 500, bang, bang, and then you're going to try and shoehorn he's just trying to fist the MotoGP right in between it. It doesn't work. No. So, yeah, basically what you've got is breakfast, then you've got brunch, then you've got lunch, then you've got lapper, and then you've got the full-on DT, and then you've got afters, and for where are we? Charlotte.
Biscuits and things.
Do you know, I'm just gonna go. Yeah. Oh, and Snetterton, don't forget that's on at the same time as well. So they're competing against the British touring car crowd, which, if anybody knows, you never put MotoGP up against touring cars because touring car fans beat it every single time. So it's daft. It's just really bad. But yeah, other not quickly.
I think I'm done with my knots, so you continue.
Yeah. Danica Patrick.
Here we go.
Big knot. A little bit of paper that you sign at the bottom of every Formula One contract to accept your media pass or any pass for the year that's been introduced after Miami. Little sim. You will not get involved in any political party or any political activity of any country to save the embarrassment because Formula One is supposedly neutral. I know, laughable fact. But here's the thing. Sky Sports have the neutrality contract. Danica Patrick is employed by Sky Sports to be a pundit on the Formula One races. God knows why, but she is. Now, she has breached that so many times. And for her to go at a Trump rally is the biggest problem that Formula One is going to face, Sky and Formula One media, because they allow her in. I cannot see how, especially with the next race being the United States Grand Prix, I cannot see how... Oh, and Trump is supposed to appear at the Grand Prix, by the way, again, just as a heads up. So I cannot see how Sky are going to let Danica be on until after the elections now, or if ever again, because she becomes a political weapon, and you can't have that. So I don't know. And also, I had tweet of the week because the lizard on the track, I put hashtag Danica Patrick spotted at Singapore Grand Prix. That was a personal funny of mine, but. In all honesty, I can't believe that Sky are keeping Danica. They can't keep Danica for what she did. She's entitled to her own political opinions. Everybody is. But when you are a member of media, when you're a member of so many other things that you have to keep neutral, you can't go on and do that. It is wrong. And also, I'm just really tired of her. I really am. It's like it's worn off now. And there's so much better female representation for motorsports than Danica Patrick. Pippa Mann, for instance, as well. Catherine Legg, the fastest woman at the 500 in history. You've got Abby Pulling, Alice Powell, exactly, yeah. Jamie Chadwick, who was on the Sky F1 broadcast, Ruth Buscombe, Laura Winter as well. You've got Bernie Collins, you've got Rachel Brooks, Natalie Pinkham, you've got Louise Goodman. There's so many more, Lee McKenzie. Jenny Gow is writing a book, and I think she's fantastic to come back from a stroke and to do all that. There is so many more that you just put Danica Patrick there. You go, oh, and you know, it's like when we had Carmen Jordan as the face for a while. It doesn't work. Wrong face, wrong time. So yeah, that's my rant. Danica, I'm just bored of it. I'm bored of it. And there's only one IndyCar driver who should be on F1 Pass now. His name is James Hinchcliffe. I agree with you. Do you know why? Because James Hinchcliffe was a massive Formula One fan growing up, more than he was IndyCar. And that's why James knows his F1 stuff.
And that links to something I forgot to say earlier. James Hinchcliffe did some TV stuff back in the day. Before he was in IndyCar, he was doing TV stuff for A1 Grand Prix. And it's a happy birthday, A1 Grand Prix. Brands Hatch, the first race 19 years ago today.
No.
Yes, 19 years ago. Where does the time go? I still don't have any news about A1 Grand Prix, I'm afraid. That's the downside of this. Quickly, you said Trump's coming potentially to COTA, but the FIA are neutral. So is Kamala Harris also coming, or what's the scale being tipped here? Because they can't be both.
I know it can't be both, but Donald apparently was already, because he's coming to all 3 races of America this year. So he was coming to, he's came to Miami, he's coming to COTA, and he is coming to Las Vegas, mainly because he owns half the stuff in Vegas. So he's coming to those 3. Apparently the 3rd was supposed to be his big presidential thing, because it just been, you know, late November. So I've won the election, blah, blah, blah. Let's go party. Yeah.
Let's go eat some cats and dogs.
Yeah. So Kamala, I think, should be there personally on that front. It's the same reason how Formula One actually banned any members of Parliament or any members of the Labour Party, the Conservative Party, from attending the British Grand Prix, because it was 2 days after the election. Yeah. So neither Keir Starmer or Rishi Sunak could attend the British Grand Prix to give out the British Grand Prix trophy, which is usually done. So it wasn't, they couldn't be there. So yeah, it was a
quick last thing before we sign off. Daniel Ricciardo, if this is the end, which it to all intensive purposes looks like it is, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Daniel. But I have to say it's probably come about 18 months too late. Because he was going into the weekend again this weekend going, oh, you know, a fight for a podium. And they came, what, 14th?
Yes.
Somewhere around there. Well, that's a big statement.
You say it's goodbye. I have it on very good authority. It's not goodbye.
Ciao for now.
It's ciao for about 3 or 4 weeks. We're going to have Perez do America, Mexico, and after Mexico, it's bye-bye Checo, and it's hello Daniel for the big goodbye. A big goodbye to Daniel.
With Lawson in the RB.
Yeah, with Lawson being the RB. So I think it's Ricciardo getting... He won't be in the RB for the remainder of the year. Perez gets COTA and Mexico. Mexico is Perez's big goodbye. Danny gets the last few as a goodbye. And then we get whoever the hell they decide to put in the RB for what... It hasn't been announced yet, but I've had the wink, I've had the nod. As well, that we will have a F1 drivers junior race.
Oh yes, this is happening since I've been away. Yes,
yeah,
I'm looking forward to this. If it
is happening, it's gonna happen on Tuesday after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. So,
young driver test.
Yes, so Sunday you get the Grand Prix, Monday you get the young drivers test, Tuesday you get the F1 junior, whatever they're going to call it, race. So basically, all the F2 drivers, all their third drivers, someone who's never taken a start in Formula One, they get the car, and we get a short qualifying and then about a 25% distance race.
Very good.
But yeah, that is what we've had an under the wing about it all. So that's happening.
Chance for
yeah, go on.
Chance for Isaac Hadjar to continue to stick his hand in the air and go, "Hello, don't forget about me." Red Bull.
I think Kobe just said we'll get to see Paddock Award race then. Probably so, yeah. And
Probably
also,
so, yeah.
possibly as well, Colton Herta with Sauber or Tia Brachet with Sauber. So whoever's going in there. Possibly, I would say Herta more with Haas as a possibility coming in, because Haas, they'll probably run Behrman as well, but Behrman's now done 2 races. He doesn't classify as a rookie. Haas will argue he hasn't done 2 races for us. So we'll see how that kind of works out. But yeah, that is also going to be broadcast on all your normal broadcasters. So Sky here in the UK, ESPN over in the States, F1 TV or around the world. It's going to be your normal broadcasters. So yeah, we sign off the F1 season, do the Monday test, and then go racing on the Tuesday.
And then have an old school F2 race with Formula 1 cars. Excellent.
Yeah, and the only reason they've accepted it is because they're museum pieces, basically, because there'll be new cars for next year anyway, because they can't change them over. So yeah, great news. I'm out of hots and I'm out of knots.
Yeah, I'm out of knots. I'm out of knots. Hot just to be back on the show, and I feel much better. So that's always
definitely
good.
a hot then. What's not hot is the fact is that I'm running out of oxygen. So, guess which fool didn't bring his inhaler with him to the box in a hurry. So let's see if I can get through this massive last bit of the script. Taking a look at our upcoming schedule. Saturday, Grid Live pre-race. That's at noon Eastern. Sunday, our Grid Live wrap-up is 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at Kansas. Monday, Grid Encore, recapping the ARCA, Truck and Xfinity Series races as well at Kansas. Please continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much for helping us get to 1,000 subscribers. We're now well on the way to the road to 2,000 subscribers. You can hit the bell icon to get notifications for when we go on the air. You can follow all of our social medias platforms and visit gridnetworktv.com. You can take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. You can join Colin, Mark, Deshelle, Robin, David, and Matthew, who invest each month in the Grid Network. And we encourage you to join these fine folks who keep us on the air. And once we start hitting $500 per month, we can start sending our team to the track to cover the more races and continue expanding our coverage. The link to all of that is in the video description. And if you want to make a one-time donation, you can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link. You get your name on the board and you can invest as much as you want, and you can consider buying a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee and they will thank you on the air. For Kobe Lambeth and Matt White returning from Grid Endurance Performance Index, I'm Joshua Birch. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Good night.